listener production.
Hey, Chris Spyrou with you. Welcome to The Briefing. In the wake of the Bondi Beach massacre, our leaders are calling for calm and togetherness, but experts are warning we're facing something we've never had to deal with before.
We're going to have a sadness and an anger in community. It's a tinder pile. And social media and the fakeness and everything, that's the ignition, that's the spark.
That deep dive into Australia's first real test against AI-generated mis- and disinformation after a terror attack is coming up in the second half of this episode. First, though, let's get into the headlines with Sasha Barbagat. It's Tuesday, the 16th of December.
Hey Chris, and to you listening. Today we are continuing to cover the Bondi Beach terror shooting, and last night we saw thousands of Sydneysiders gather at Bondi for an emotional vigil 24 hours on. Now, that was outside the Bondi Pavilion, and many were visibly distraught, of course, as the city continues to try to come to grips with Sunday's senseless attack.
People are crying, people are so sad, and I'm so happy to see so many young people. It's fantastic. It really shows you the strengths of the community. We are a very strong community here.
15 people were killed when father and son Sajid and Naveed Akram opened fire on a Jewish event that was marking the first day of Hanukkah. A large menorah, that's the 9-branched candelabra that's representative of the holy celebration, was brought down to the vigil last night as a local rabbi lit the candles to commemorate the second night of the holiday.
Yeah, and Hanukkah is known as the Festival of Lights, a time when the Jewish community celebrates the reclaiming of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. And that's been the overwhelming message since the devastation on Sunday night, Sasha. A hope that light will drown out the darkness. And look, the sails of the Sydney Opera House were lit up last night in white and blue with an image of a menorah. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns saying in a statement that it's more important than ever before that the Jewish community knows that they're not standing alone in all of this.
Yeah, and at the forefront of people's minds last night was, of course, the victims, and we are learning more about them as they are formally identified. 10-year-old Matilda has been named as the youngest victim. Husband and wife, Alexander and Larissa Kleitman, were named among the dead as well. They're both Holocaust survivors from Ukraine. A French national and 2 rabbis have also been named as among the dead. New South Wales Health, meantime, has given an update on the condition of 26 people still currently in hospital being treated for their injuries. We know that 3 children have been listed as stable at Sydney Children's Hospital. 12 people remain in a critical condition, and the rest of those injured are listed as stable.
Yeah, and the families of the 2 police officers who were injured in the attack have released a statement expressing their heartfelt gratitude to the first responders and the community while asking, of course, for privacy. Look, Bondi Beach and the pavilion remain closed this morning as police continue to comb through the crime scene, and a floral tribute outside Bondi Pavilion is continuing to grow as more people visit the site to pay their respects.
The man who became a symbol of immeasurable bravery and courage across the world since the attack, Ahmed Al-Ahmed, is recovering in hospital and was yesterday visited by the New South Wales Premier. Video of the 43-year-old has gone viral, showing him stalking one of the gunmen before tackling him from behind and wresting the firearm off him.
Oh!
Give applaud to the old man. He tackled that shooter. He deserves all the praise in the world because it's very brave to do what he did, put his body on the line to save more people from getting killed.
Yeah, that was the overwhelming response yesterday, Chris. I did a bunch of radio interviews as part of the coverage, and everyone was asking about that man. He has just become an absolute hero and symbol of hope. He is listed in a critical but stable condition in hospital after copping bullets to his shoulder during the altercation, and his family have been giving updates saying he's had surgery and is continuing to recover. But there are fears, Chris, that he could lose his arm.
Yeah, and according to his parents, Ahmed had been having coffee with a friend when the shooting started to unfold.
My son is a hero. He served with the police and in the Central Security Forces, and he has the impulse to protect people. When he saw people laying on the ground and the blood everywhere, Immediately, his conscience and his soul compelled him to pounce on one of the terrorists.
That was his dad speaking to the ABC there. Chris Minns put up an Instagram post last night after visiting him, saying he's a real-life hero, while Anthony Albanese singled him out in a press conference, saying his actions are an example of Australians coming together. It's understood Ahmed gained citizenship in 2022 after migrating here from Syria, and a GoFundMe for him has already raised more than $1.5 million, and those donations are coming from right around the world, including $100,000 from a UK billionaire.
So moving on now to the political response, Chris, because that has obviously been swift as well. And along with unlocking immediate federal funding to boost security for Jewish community sites, at an emergency national cabinet meeting yesterday, state and territory leaders agreed unanimously to strengthen Australia's gun laws.
We live in a more dangerous world in 2025. The threat of anti-Semitism, as we have seen, is very real.
What they're looking at here is a few options, among them allowing only Australian citizens to hold a firearm licence, limiting the number of guns a single person can own, introducing more restrictions on the type of weapons and modifications a gun owner can have, accelerating the launch of a national firearms register, and also allowing for more criminal intelligence to be used when issuing licences. And if enacted, it would be our country's biggest overhaul of gun laws since the Howard governments in the wake of the Port Arthur massacre in 1996.
Yeah, and as to why these changes specifically are the ones being explored, it really followed after we found out more details about the two gunmen yesterday. And that's, of course, as the joint counter-terrorism investigation gets underway and continues to, develop and give us more updates along the way. When it comes to the father, Sajid, we know he came to Australia in 1998 on a student visa, which was transferred in 2001 to a partner visa and then a resident return visa. He was a licensed gun holder for a decade. He held a recreational hunting license, was a member of a gun club, and owned 6 registered guns, which New South Wales Police Commissioner Mal Lanyon yesterday actually said were recovered from the scene on Sunday.
As to his son, 24-year-old Naveed, we now know he was on ASIO's radar for a period in 2019, and that was on suspicion he was accessing extremist material online and was possibly socialising with others who had been radicalised.
He was examined on the basis of being associated with others, and the assessment was made that there was no indication of any ongoing threat or threat of him engaging in violence.
Yeah, so authorities didn't deem his activities sufficient to earn a charge at the time, but there are questions, given that ASIO was looking into Naveed. The question is, how did his father then get permission to have access to a gun licence and legally own 6 firearms? So again, that's something that's being looked at and investigated as we move forward. And it is understood as well that authorities are looking into whether the pair had any links to IS, the terror group, after 2 flags from them were found in a car near the shooting. And that same car had an improvised explosive device inside.
Look, we're also seeing this become a politicised issue. As we mentioned at the top, there were immediate calls for unity and solidarity in the face of this terrorism that we witnessed and experienced in Australia, but it's inevitably become a highly political thing. Opposition leader Susan Lee yesterday repeated accusations made by Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that Anthony Albanese had failed to keep Jewish Australians safe.
This government has treated anti-Semitism as if it's a problem to be solved. But it's an evil that needs to be eradicated. And from today, everything must change.
And look, that's a sentiment that's striking a chord with some members of the Jewish community. A handful yesterday heckling Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke at one of the memorials in Bondi.
Blood on your hands, Tony Burke!
Shame, Tony Burke, shame!
Shame on you!
Yeah, so obviously people feeling extremely emotional, understandably, in the wake of the tragedy on Sunday. Look, talking about the accusations coming from the Israeli government, they're claiming that Australia's recognition of a Palestinian state earlier this year actually contributed to Sunday's deadly attack. And that's a link the PM was pressed on the ABC last night.
I want to bring up what Prime Minister Netanyahu said today. He singled you out personally, he said, for pouring fuel on the anti-Semitism fire by recognising a Palestinian state. Do you accept any link between that recognition and the massacre in Bondi?
No, I don't. And overwhelmingly, most of the world recognises a two-state solution as being the way forward in the Middle East.
And Albanese was also accused by his Israeli counterpart of replacing weakness with appeasement. Here's his response to that.
What they require me as Australia's Prime Minister at this time is to bring the nation together, is to promote unity, is to make sure that what the terrorists seek, which is to divide us as a nation, to pit Australian against Australian, to say this is a moment of national unity where we need to come together and in particular wrap our arms around members of the Jewish community who are going through an extraordinarily difficult period.
And that's something he's going to have to continue defending, especially as similar lines and criticisms continue to be mounted by key Liberals like Andrew Hastie.
The Prime Minister has had 2 years. All the warning signs were there as anti-Semitism in this country ramped up. And now, in a cynical ploy to protect his voting base in southwest Sydney, he's trying to switch the conversation to gun reform. What we really need to talk about is immigration, is citizenship, is education. We need to talk about Australian values and what we want our country to look like. This is a really clear time where we need to differentiate between those who love Australia, our people and our values, and those who hate us.
Yeah, and just on the back end of that, I think you'd be really hard-pressed to find anyone today who would say we want to welcome people into this country who hate Australia and hate our values. That, we find some solidarity and common ground there. I will just say, singling out southwest Sydney, an electorate I belong to, where I live, where there is a high concentration of Muslim and Arab voters, is not the right thing to be doing right now. And calling them out, I mean, we've seen beheaded pigs being brought to the Muslim section of cemeteries in Sydney yesterday. We saw that happen yesterday. We've seen, notifications and posters being sent around trying to get people to Cronulla Beach at the end of the month for a WOG/Middle Eastern bashing day. So, Andrew Hastie, I get it. There is a conversation around immigration and citizenship we should be having, but this messaging ultimately alienates a massive, massive portion of the Australian population who are also copping it and feeling it in the wake of this terror attack.
And look, inevitably, when something like this happens, people might be feeling helpless on top of the grief and emotion that comes with witnessing what we did. And, sadly, with social media, I think most of us probably spent a lot of yesterday watching videos and clips that we probably didn't need to see. We are being told, though, there is something we can do to help if we are feeling that helplessness, and that is to donate blood. And in a heartwarming display of charity, thousands of Australians have rushed to do that to help treat the victims of Bondi. As of yesterday afternoon, more than 20,000 people had made an appointment to give blood. That's the highest figure seen since the Black Saturday bushfires of 2009.
Wow.
And pop-up clinics around Sydney experienced massive queues of people lining up to donate. Some people reported waiting 4 hours to actually get in and do that. It is understood there's still an urgent need for O-negative blood. If that is your type, the Red Cross will gladly accept a donation. You can head to their website to make an appointment. The link for that is in our show notes.
Yeah, and if you feel called to, you can leave a message in the online condolence book, which has been set up by the New South Wales Government website. A link to that will also be in the show notes. And of course, as we continue to try to make sense of the tragedy, look after yourself. Make sure you give yourself time away from the news cycle and you get off social media when it starts to feel really overwhelming. Spend time with loved ones, get enough sleep and eat well. And if you do need to talk to someone, you can reach out to Lifeline on 131114. That number, again, will be in the show notes.
Thanks, Chris. That's a really good reminder as well. Make sure you do reach out to someone if you need to chat. And look, that brings our headlines to a close for today. We are going to keep exploring Bondi in our deep dive. You spoke to a man called Skeeve Stevens, a super interesting guy who actually works in the online space of AI and helping inform police and investigations. He has some really interesting insights about how we should be looking at the Bondi attack online. Have a listen to that up next.
It's been more than a day since the terrorist attack at Bondi Beach, and many of us are still trying to process the grief and emotion of it all. An event like this would have once been filtered through newspapers, radio and TV, but now we're flooded in real time with images, videos, speculation and a whole lot of opinion, much of it coming from people who weren't even there. It's something that's undeniably transformed how news spreads. We know that. And while Australia is unfortunately no stranger to a terrorist attack, experts are warning this time is different. because for the first time, we're facing a new wave of mis and disinformation that's not only convincing, but dropping at a pace that even the experts can't readily tell is real or fake. Skeeve Stevens is one of those experts. He's a security consultant and future crime researcher who works with police, security officials and governments in the wake of major events like these. Skeeve, welcome back to the briefing. I've introduced you as a future crime researcher. Can you explain what that role is and how it gets activated in a time like this?
Generally what a future crime researcher is it's how people can use and abuse technology for bad purposes. An example that from old days is the crime gangs that are using skimmers on ATMs. So anything technology that comes out, what and how can it be used and abused? So I'm always looking at the latest advances in anything. It doesn't have to be futuristic or anything like that. There's AI, obviously, at the moment. There's the image generation and video generation. In situations like this, the situation that's happened in Bondi at the moment, it's how can the bad guys, because I don't mean the actual actors in this thing, I mean bored people sitting at home generating videos, images and things to cause a bit of chaos in the environment. So given the advances in AI and some of the releases in the last week or so, that's had me very concerned. And because AI video generation has reached a point where I can't tell the difference.
When it comes to the rapid development, especially of visual AI, the things that you can just prompt and create within seconds, what are some of the things we should be keeping our eyes peeled for? What should we be a little bit more careful when we're scrolling Twitter, Instagram, Facebook over the next coming days?
Don't believe anything. We're giving too much very good source material. The press releases with Albo and the Police Commission of New South Wales, we're giving them 4K footage that they can then throw into AI and make them say anything they want. So an example would be you would have the police commissioner saying things like, this is so bad that the Muslims are doing this and Islam is against this, and just keep an eye on every Muslim you know. Like if your average person out there that doesn't understand the capability, and I'm just on the cutting edge of understanding what it is because it's so new, like it's a week old, that the public's not going to know. They're not going to know that we can voice clone the police commissioner. We can video clone him now. And the thing that came out last week is the video AI puppeting, which means I can be standing there and actually using hand signals and like the way we do body language, and I can be the commissioner.
Almost like that early Snapchat filter, which is very silly, but would put a cartoon dog on your face, or you age people, or you turn into another gender.
Yeah, this is what I look like, and this is a girl, and things like that is now perfect. It's no longer you just have to type in a prompt and render it. It can now be done live. This is how. I don't want to use the word gullible. It's they just don't know that that's a real thing. And what do we believe most? We believe our eyes. We believe our ears. This is the problem we've got and right now with this event, it's going to be I'm a bit scared about what's coming and how fast we can detect. Like there was footage last night of the event and I was even wondering was it real? But apparently it is actually real. We analysed all the pictures and we're looking at it and we're going, if this is AI, this is too good. And that's the problem is when you get the experts that have been spending years trying to understand this, when we don't know anymore, this is the level we're coming at. So I would say, especially to the people that are emotional about any event, not just this one, pause. Give the media and the law enforcement half a day to see whether it's real or not, because they've got the people. It's taking us longer to figure some of these things out.
We're still getting it done.
But, there's new software that tries to detect it, but it's AI. It's AI versus AI, and the AI detection versus the AI creation. And that's one of the key problems we've got at the moment is I would like to see broadcast media or Facebook and others be able to detect that as AI and then intercept it. Problem is people like Meta have Meta AI that let you literally create fake images from your posts. So they're facilitating it in a certain way.
Even without the tools, I mean, I've been seeing some old footage circulating on socials at the moment with brand new captions that skew it in a much different fashion. It looks like there are the way that they've framed it, at least the way that they've incorrectly framed it, is that there are Middle Eastern Australians celebrating what happened at Bondi, which is inaccurate. And I mean, something that, we are bracing to see over the coming days.
But is it? This is the problem is I'm worried about what might get released from the two gunmen, like of their historical past. This is what he did on Saturday. He posted his manifesto, and this is him, criticising the Jews and things like that and talking about what he was going to do, but it's not real, right? The driver's license details that got out, gave his home address. I think there was over 50 people, and I think they mostly arrived just after the police at the house. Like, people get upset, and we know, we've been here. The Cronulla riots, we've seen what happens when things cross lines. And I feel really bad for it, but the Islamic community is the one it's going to cop it. And it's not justified. We're going to have a sadness and an anger in community, and people are going to wanting to respond to that. And so it's a tinder pile. And social media and the fakeness and everything, that's the ignition, that's the spark. And this already has elements, this incident that's going to upset people, the mother and the child, and things like that. Like, there's already things that are going to upset people no matter what ethnic background. Basically, take everything that you saw happen with Charlie Kirk, like the conspiracy theories,
and apply that to this.
Yeah. Charlie Kirk was 6 months ago now? So AI capabilities has gone up 100 times since then. So, and even back then there was fake videos, all sorts of craziness. And the problem is Australia is kind of easy to do that because we are so multicultural that it's going to be easy to, and while they might say calm, the politicians, when will we start to see the fake footage and how much control have they got over social media and the different ones? Because we do know that there are a few, like Twitter, that they've got zero influence over.
Well, speaking of influence, they've declared this a terror incident, which unlocks a whole bunch of police and political powers here. What are some of the things that are going on behind the scenes typically in a time like this next week? How far deep down are investigators going? What are they looking at? What are they trying to nip in the bud? Like, what's going on now?
Well, the investigators are at the bottom of the chain. The top of the chain is the Prime Minister's Office, the Secretary's Committee on National Security, SCONS, and those guys, which are the ones that decide the risk. They would, last night, pretty sure they were running around trying to figure out, is this going to be a copycat? Was this one of multiple chained events in not just the city, but the country? Is something going to happen in Melbourne? Is something happening? Because we've had many things in the past where something happens and then there's bang, bang copycats. You've got to look at the bigger picture and decide what the risk is. Then you've got to find it all. You've got to figure out what noise is going on in social media, what's real, what's not, and what people will respond to. Because there's real, not real, and then there's risks that weren't there until someone put up something fake. And then suddenly, like with the Cronulla riots, everything was going okay until this guy beat up a lifesaver. That was the key thing that broke the camel's back. If people can come up and do fakes of that, then that can turn things real bad, real quick.
Well, listening to the press conference on Sunday night, there was very much an acknowledgement that lessons had been learned from the Bondi Junction stabbing, and the New South Wales Police Commissioner was quite firm in that idea, and as was the Premier. He was saying, lessons have been learned. Our police response time was a lot better than what it was. Moving forward, what do you think we're going to see? Are we going to see new processes, new training rolled out? What's typical now in the next coming months, even year, in upskilling our police force to be geared towards something like this? From your descriptions, it sounds like they weren't entirely. How do you get a police force up to scratch with something like this that's so foreign?
Well, the thing is, we're a city of 5+ million people. Police nearly had multiple accidents, like on George Street. One car, a high patrol car trying to get to something relating to this, nearly took out a tram, right? Like, it was chaos trying to bring the resources in place. It doesn't seem to be, people don't seem to have thought about all the things that can go wrong. Like, in that kind of situation, you push a button and all the trams stop and maybe all the buses stop so that the police can get through. So there doesn't need to be great coordination, and that's within one force, because this is not a one force thing. We don't seem to have a coordinated emergency response. Given it's the middle of summer, I mean, these guys knew what they were doing. I mean, they knew where to hit. I mean, if you were looking at the time and events, I mean, Hanukkah, Bondi.
Yeah. For our national listeners who are unfamiliar, Bondi is very much I don't want to call it a hotspot, but it's where the Jewish community in
it's an affluent area,
Sydney live.
Yeah. And this is one of those things where if I was a passive risk person, meaning just sitting in an office going, what do we have to worry about this weekend? Like you got things like New Year's Eve and you got all these different and all the different religious festivals. What would people hit? And if I was going to hit it, who would I be? This wasn't obviously very smart from a technical perspective, and it could have been a lot worse. I've done things in the past with some scenarios, and it's not hard to distract police.
I do want to know now that, this event has happened, obviously the next few weeks are going to be a time that a lot of people's attention is focused on this, or at least interested to find out more about these more developments and things like that. Your warning is that we are to brace for this AI-generated fake content and just be on alert. Just know that it's going to be out there. It's going to be circulating. In your opinion, do you think it's too late for us to get a handle on this sort of content that can spread after horrible events like this? Or, like you mentioned earlier, do we now have the AI tools that can take on the AI and it's just AI fighting AI? Where are we at?
Well, yeah, I mean, whether it's military, like Ukraine, everything, it's drone versus drone. Humans are too slow to respond to a lot of these things. The same happened with Christchurch when there was thousands of people trying to upload the video to Facebook, right? So now we're getting better at these things, but we are constantly trying to fight. So my number one thing to everybody is, if the content that you're watching seems to be like it could explode, as in it's saying something very, very dangerous, wait. But problem is we're driven by emotion, and the fact that this is Bondi Beach, and this is going to be forever. Think about all the other situations like Port Arthur. Like, it's going to impact people. The police are asking everybody to stay the hell away from Bondi right now unless you have to, which sounds a very smart thing to do because we've got a lot of rubberneckers that like to go and check things out. And if you're of an certain ethnic culture, I'd listen to that because things are going to be hot for a bit. And the police, I've got it in hand. I know they've deployed a lot of people around to hotspots around Sydney, just higher presence, things like that. They're like anywhere where there's different cultures that might sort of intersect. But the problem is that in some of the lower economic social areas, and sometimes also when people aren't great with English or things like that, the fake content will seem absolutely real to them. And we know some people, especially with religion, very passionate. So there's a lot of people out there that are not educated enough. I think the tech people are amongst us. We're struggling. So how is the normal people going to respond to something that really hits them hard?
Skeeve, what a grim chat, but we appreciate your analysis and your tips. It's going to be a wild few weeks for a lot of us, especially us in the news.
Just the next couple of days.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us on The Briefing.
No problem.
That was security consultant and future crime researcher Skeeve Stevens speaking with me there. And that is it for this episode of The Briefing. I'm Chris Spyrou. I'll catch you next time.